Hi, my name is Chris Dixon. I'm the co-founder of Hunch and Founder Collective. This is Founder Stories. Today we have Pettis, the co-founder and CEO of MakerBot. Thanks for being here.
Great to be here.
I should disclose Founder Collective is an investor in MakerBot. So what is MakerBot?
So MakerBot,
we have one right behind us.
Yeah,
actually.
so it's printing out right here.
Okay.
It's a 3D printer. It's a machine that can make you almost anything, which turns out is pretty handy.
And when you say almost anything, so like, what are some, I mean, here you brought some examples which are kind of fun. These are some of our friends in New York or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, so there's sort of fun stuff you can print, but then there's also like practical stuff, so.
Yeah, so I brought fun stuff. So these are busts of friends and a heart that when you twist it, it goes crazy.
Oh, that's cool.
But then it's like, when we have a new employee, like they have to print out their own coat hook. And those kind of things
are print out their own code.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it's kind of practical stuff.
But also people like are using it for like jewelry molding. I mean, there are like professional uses of it currently.
Yeah, you can use lost plastic casting and make something on a MakerBot out of plastic and then transform it and get it made in metal. You can do all sorts of stuff. If you have a 3D model of it, you can make it.
Yeah. So since this thing's printing now, can you explain a little bit about what it's doing? And
sure. The green stuff at the top is the filament. That's the raw plastic. It's the same thing Lego's made of. Yeah. And then that goes into the machine and gets pulled in by a high torque motor. And then it goes out. It goes in kind of like spaghetti, and then it comes out like super fine angel hair spaghetti that's molten and sticky. And it moves it around so it draws with it. And
so right now this thing's building this rocket ship, right? So
yeah, so we're about
built the bottom of it.
We're about a third of the way through the rocket ship.
And so, how does it? So where does the design come from?
So you have a few options with the design. You can either, if you're somebody who likes to design things, you can design whatever you want.
And that'd be using some kind of CAD software on your computer or something.
Yeah, and actually, like that whole area is blowing up right now. There's actually with WebGL, you can like design things in the browser. Super cool. And then we have a site called Thingiverse where people share their digital designs, and there's like more than 10,000 things you can just download and print without having to design anything.
There's like a bottle opener. Like I think I ran out of a bottle opener or something, and we downloaded and printed one off Thingiverse, right?
Yeah. Nobody with a MakerBot should ever have to buy a bottle opener again.
Okay. So then you print the design. So the design is just sort of standard 3D image. Which, how do you get it on there?
There's an SD card. So you just put your SD card on your computer and transfer it, or you hook it up by USB.
Yourself. Okay, so you build it yourself or download from the internet. You can put it on there. And then you need to buy, I guess, this material. And then how does it decide, like, so it's like doing all these like crazy patterns and things, like how is it deciding to do that? And
yeah, when you go into print it, there's a little slider and you can decide if you want it to be totally solid or totally empty. I think we're at like 25% infill. And you can choose whether you want to have hexagons or circles or squares in there. And then there's an algorithm that fills it up.
Okay, cool. And this will take, so this thing to print will take like 20 minutes or something like that, right? Okay. So there have been 3D printers for like decades, right?
Yeah. So they first started coming out at the end of in the late '80s. So they've been around for a while. But those machines were like literally mainframe size machines, like bigger than your refrigerator. Yeah. And they were
and used for what purposes?
Primarily, those machines are used for prototyping. So in design houses or engineering, they're like, okay, we want to make a new phone. Okay. Let's make a design. Let's print it out. Okay, now we feel like, okay, this is too big for my pocket. We can't use it this way.
I see. So you like that? Yeah. Like supposedly people they have the new iPhone. Someone's carrying around some of the exact same form factors to see if it feels good or whatever.
Exactly. Okay. But the MakerBot kind of messes with that whole system.
But that was a sort of fairly big business that was going along. It still is. And what are the companies? There's like big companies, right?
Stratasys and 3D Systems are the big ones.
And how much do these devices cost?
They make beautiful machines that are like $20,000 to $1 million. Okay. So they go really.
And your thing is how much? It's
$1,299.
So it feels. So would you sort of say, you mentioned mainframes? Would you sort of consider what you have sort of the PC to their mainframes in a way? Like this is 1978 or something, and
I think it's more like 1976 with like Apple I, pre-Apple II days.
You still have to build it yourself. It's still like hobbyists or whatever.
So, and the coolest people in the world are getting into it. Like you talk to the people who had like an Altair 8800, and they're like, they went on to like start crazy companies that are famous now.
Yeah,
it's early days. And the cool thing about that is that all of our customers are these super smart really awesome people who are getting this because they're into the bleeding edge of technology and are pushing it farther than we can.
Yeah. And so how are you able to build these things for $1,000 when it costs the other companies? I mean, is it just, I mean, presumably they have a lot of other features and it does things that yours doesn't do, right? I mean.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. We just came at it from a totally different place. You know, they're servicing a market of it has to work, it has to be perfect, it has to, you know, it has to be 99.9999% accurate. And we came at it from like, okay, what's the absolute minimum we can do to make it work? And then let's try that, and if it works, ship it. And it actually turns out like we've been able now with our second machine and our 6th extruder and the 25th version of our software, we've been able to like actually make it work really well.
And so do you use, for example, off-the-shelf parts or something like, you know, that makes it cheaper, and so you don't have to go do machine tooling or something? Or?
Yeah, instead of having to like make it out of injection molded parts, which requires like tooling and that gets really expensive, and to make changes is difficult, we just use laser cutting and off-the-shelf parts. And with laser cutting, we literally just tell our laser cutter, okay, with the next batch, we want this whole move over here. You know, we have some little changes to make. So it's really easy for us to be iterative, and then also to keep costs down and make it flexible and get the thing out.